Hey everyone, welcome to our 3-day fertility workshop. I am your host, Meg Priest. Today we are going to be covering the basics and understanding your fertility and menstrual cycle. When you're born, you are born with all of the eggs that you will ever have and hold inside of your ovaries. These ovaries are dormant and don't have any stimulation whatsoever until you reach the age where you go through what is called puberty. What puberty is essentially is the hormones that are needed to create your menstrual cycle have now started to actually take shape and flow through your body. At the beginning of every menstrual cycle, you will have what is called an estrogen drop. That's what signals your period to come. It causes the lining in your uterus to shed, and that's what causes your period. About a day or so after that happens, your body will gradually start to increase the amount of estrogen. As it begins to increase, another hormone called follicle stimulating hormone, also known as FSH, will also begin to rise. That signals your ovaries to search for the most mature follicle in all of the follicles that are in there sitting behind the scenes, and it signals to that one that it needs to get bigger and start the process for maturing so that it can fully complete the ovulation process. As your body begins to prepare for this event called ovulation, you will notice that you have certain kinds of cervical fluid that start to become more increased during this time. It's something that is most commonly called egg white cervical mucus. For the reason being is that it looks a lot like egg whites. When you are experiencing this kind of cervical discharge, it's typically because you are close to ovulation and your estrogen is at its highest. Once that follicle has reached its mature stage, a hormone called luteinizing hormone, or LH, will be released into your body, and when it surges and rises to a substantial amount, you will have what is called the release of the ovum, which is ovulation. This signals the body to start producing what is called progesterone. That is the hormone that is responsible for making the lining of your uterus nice and fluffy, so that if you have a fertilized egg and it makes the journey down the fallopian tubes into the uterus, it has a place to snuggle in. Progesterone is essential for having a healthy pregnancy. Many women are estrogen dominant and progesterone deficient, and later this week we will learn about how we can identify those things and also how to treat them. After you've reached that luteal phase, which is the phase after ovulation, from there on out, your body is basically just creating a slew of hormones that help to create an optimal environment for a fertilized egg to implant into. If all goes well and all of the odds have been beaten and fertilization has taken place and it has made the journey down in a timely fashion down the fallopian tubes and into the uterus where it belongs, and it implants, within about 7 days you should receive your first positive pregnancy test. If not, your body will again have an estrogen drop and will signal the start of your period all over again. It's really important to know when you are ovulating so that you can time intercourse appropriately in order to boost your chances of pregnancy each month. Unfortunately, a lot of women are not aware of when they're actually ovulating, and they rely on applications or other software and charting things that don't necessarily teach them how to identify the signs that their body is ovulating, and just goes based off of a calendar of how long your cycles are in between. The reason why that can be a difficult thing to do is because not everybody ovulates at the same time. You might have a 34-day cycle, but still not ovulate until cycle day 24, leaving you with a shorter luteal phase. Or you may be ovulating on cycle day 16 and having a much longer luteal phase. It really just depends on the person. There are a lot of different ways that you can really, for sure, find out how you're ovulating and what that looks like, and we'll be going over those also later this week. It's really important to understand why your body is doing what it's doing, and so if you haven't already, I highly recommend looking into a book called Taking Charge of Your Fertility. It is truly a phenomenal resource that will help you to be empowered by learning more about your individual body so that you can best advocate for yourself for the long run of your health care, whether it's fertility related, gynecological related, or even just mental health related. It's important to know how to understand what your body is trying to say to you and how to evaluate those and appropriately convey that to your medical team. I hope you found this really helpful in helping you to understand just some of the basic fundamentals of your fertility. In short, your body's main goal in having a menstrual cycle is to achieve pregnancy. And if it does not do that, you will continue to have periods. There are also other things out there like hormonal contraceptives that will stop your periods and therefore stop the chances of getting pregnant. I don't always recommend that hormonal contraceptives be used for all women. I think that there are risks associated that may not have been conveyed properly to many women for many years that are now starting to surface about some of the risks associated with these contraceptives. However, they do have their place and they can be beneficial, specifically prior to cycling for IVF, IUI, any kind of artificial insemination. That being said, most of the women in this group will be concerned more about getting pregnant and staying pregnant. So we're not going to touch too much on hormonal contraceptives at this point. But again, your body's main goal in having a period is to get pregnant each month. A lot of things need to take place to happen. If you have not already seen it, there is a fantastic documentary out there on YouTube called The Great Sperm Race, and it really just illustrates in a really interesting way how incredibly much we go through just to get and stay pregnant, and what things need to be lined up just perfect in order for that to happen. And sometimes it's a wonder that any of us even made it here at all. And it helps you to have a little bit more grace with yourself each month when you keep getting those negative pregnancy tests. So all that being said, I hope you found this helpful. I'm looking forward to spending the next week with you guys, doing some live videos, and just having some fun and answering your questions.